I'm ringing you to find out what on earth your problem is. It has been 2 whole months since you last did a proper video about my show. Your infection rates are rising each day. You should be spending those days indoors making videos with effort. And don't sit there and tell me you put effort into that trombone video. Nobody on YouTube gives 2 hoots about TikTok. Just like that piece of crap movie where you decide to kill me in the first 15 minutes. Honestly, cancelling that was the only good decision you've ever made in your life. You wouldn't even have a YouTube channel if it weren't for my show, and now you think it doesn't matter what show you make a video about because people will still watch it? Well, you're dead wrong. You honestly think you can reach 3,000 by the end of 2020? It's time you set your damn priorities straight. Make a video about me and people might just give a damn. Get your head out of your arse and focus, or I'm going to take a big world big adventure to Bristol and bump that arse of yours to make you even skinnier. You make my face as green as that bow tie of yours, Rob. What is wrong with you? Have
you finished?
I will be once I get the answer I'm looking for.
Alright, we'll make another video about your precious show.
And
I'll say something nice about you in it.
Good. Now get on with it. Bold retard.
Starveling basket. Right, calling all wedges it is.
Hello Thomas fans and welcome once again. Well, 2020 marks 15 years since Call Your Engines was released to DVD and video, becoming the first hour-long special in the show's history. The most unique thing about this particular special is, until 2019, it was the only one not to be shown in cinemas before being released to home media. Now, I think it's safe to say this special hasn't been given a warm welcome by the fandom. For some, this is the worst special of all time, and until recent years, it was always part of the big bad 3. The other 2 being Misty Island Rescue and Day of the Diesels. But for me, there are a whole host of little details that make Call Your Engines my favourite special from the noughties, and one of the best. Don't want to hear my reasons? Well, you can click out of this video right away. You might be part of a big fandom, but you can't tell me how I'm meant to feel about something. That's just wrong. Anyway, runs over. Here are 8 reasons why I love Call Your Engines. After Thomas and the Magic Railroad failed to meet hopes and expectations in 2000, I imagine the writers of the show at the time wouldn't have had the confidence to make another big cinematic release. And I'm glad they were wise. This was a time when Hit Entertainment were beginning their slow takeover of the franchise, and it's safe to say that another feature-length movie wouldn't have been that successful. At least, no more successful than the previous. But one day, Hit Entertainment had an idea. Hey, how about instead of making a movie we could show on the big screen, we just make an hour-long special and send it straight to DVD and video. This would eventually become something Hit did regularly for the other franchises it owned. As far as I know, the DVDs and videos did end up selling well. Well, they must have done if they were going to do specials for the next 15 years. Believe me, Magic Railroad did try its best, but Call Your Engines proved that both kids and parents liked and maybe even preferred the concept of hour-long specials. So in that sense, we should thank Kay for that. By the way, that's the short version of the name, Kay. And I'm going to use that for the rest of the video. There would be no Great Discovery, no Mountain Mystery, no Adventure Begins if Hit hadn't taken that gamble in 2005. I think what people wrongly do when reviewing this film is compare them to movies that are always going to do better. Let me explain. At this point in the show, no one would have guessed that hour-long specials of Thomas could be shown in the cinemas and make a decent profit. The DVDs would sell well, sure, but who would have guessed that kids would want to see their favourite tag engine in a cinema as opposed to in their own home? Of course, The Great Discovery is the very next special and was actually shown in theatres. And you could tell at this point the writers had a second great idea. Hey, this special might only be an hour, but we can make it look just like a movie, and this could not be more obvious. For the specials that followed, we have stunt after stunt after stunt after stunt. And in a lot of cases, those are literally just added in because children will be mesmerised by it when they see it on the big screen. And only very occasionally do they work for the story. The bridge jump added nothing. The cliff jump added nothing. The loop added nothing. Even Lost Treasure had to include an action sequence that the story might well have survived without. My point is, when the specials were first shown in cinemas, the bar was then set too high. And because of all these eye-catching moments, K now looks really bland in comparison, and I think it's unfair to compare it to the others. In 2005, theatrical hour-long specials were unheard of. There was no bar, there were no high expectations, there were no previous specials to match and be better than. K is not a movie. K is a special. This is a big screen movie, this is a straight to home media release. Two incredibly different things. I'd say as a straight to DVD release, K made the most of what it could do. You don't have to have an action-packed adventure to make us feel the correct emotions. From the beginning of K to the end, the tone is 100% consistent. From the start of Summertime to the reopening of Tidmouth Sheds, the writers know exactly how we're meant to feel. Introducing the engines and locations is a great heartwarming addition, and they clearly guessed that this might be some viewers' first introduction to Thomas. The extra paragraph put in for Tidmouth Sheds is especially important for later. By the time the sheds are demolished, everyone knows how important they are to the engines, and the scene becomes even more of a tragedy. As more and more things start to unravel thanks to the storm and the Steamy and Diesel feud, the stakes become higher. The airport won't be built before the deadline, the repairs after the storm are taking longer as well, the reputation of the railway is like to be damaged beyond repair. The audience knows things are looking bleak for our heroes, and now they are probably saying, okay guys, time to do the right thing. And the right thing, they do. They finally decide to work together to achieve their goal, and after all the confrontational scenes, we are rooting for all of them. And when they come to the realization at the end that despite whatever differences they have, working together is always the right thing to do. We are proud of our heroes for spending that hour with them and learning that important life lesson. And seeing the engines get their home rebuilt at the end is the perfect reward. If I put this on to entertain my kids and they learn not to discriminate, to work harder with other people effectively, I'd be the proudest of all dads. K's message is, play stupid games and you will win stupid prizes, but playing fair, supportive games will get you the very best prizes. Now tell me, what did these specials teach you? No, you're not always right. Feel free to leave your home and go on a massive adventure, just make sure you hang out with the right person. Don't scheme or take things that don't belong to you. If you just ask for a new thing, you will get that thing. I'm not saying that K has the best message of all the specials, because a lot of them are perfect, but what it is best at is focusing on the emotions. Going back to my last point about having epic moments in every other scene, some of these are still good additions and give the cinematography extra points, but what they can also do is distract. K doesn't want to distract the viewers from the message. There are scenes that show good cinematography, like the fights and their dreams, but they do have a connection at least. Kids prefer to watch things. They don't usually like listening to things more than watching. This is why children's books need pictures that show what's going on in a scene. They will remember the pictures more than the words being read out to them. Just like how they'll remember the cool dramatic scenes from The Great Discovery more than the message of, you are loved and you are irreplaceable. K might take the boring route of just not having much go on, but it knows what's important in a story like this, the heart and the message. I am not going to lie to you. I might not be a fan of seasons 8 to 12, but the music by Robert Hartshorn and Ed Welch is fire in this era. That was probably one of the things that kept me tuning in as a kid, and if I did change my mind about reviewing these series, I would low-key look forward to hearing the background music when rewatching them. A lot of the songs from this era are favourites of mine as well. Surprises, Ode to Gordon, Patience, Every Day is a Special Day on Sodor, The Narrowing Gauge Edges, just to name a few. But Hartshorn and Welch put all their efforts into the songs used in the specials. I do find the music for Great Discovery a little rusty, except for Thomas, You're the Leader. That's still a banger. When is that song going to age? All three of K's songs are perfect, however. It's so important that the songs match the seriousness of the situation. Busy matches the fast pace of everyone's work and the exciting prospect of more holidaymakers and a new airport. Trying to do things better is a good reflection on how the rivalry between both sides is starting to reach a dramatic point. I love how the lyrics are made up of characters' boastful dialogue as well. And together we made it happen. Goodness me, what a feel-good song. I honestly wish they had had this as the finale song instead of our daily ear rape that is the roll call. After the huge journey we've been on, we made our happy ending happen together. Together we saw it through. When specials became more like musicals from The Great Race onwards, they wanted to include a decent number because that's musicals for you. And although I adore this genre, they can make a production longer than it should be. And when you're making an hour-long special, songs become another distraction when you already have too many. 3 songs is the perfect number if you want them to actually add to a scene. K is focused on quality instead of quantity. In the other specials that include songs midway through, there is at least one bad one stinker, because more focus has been put into the other songs. I love all 3 of these, and they don't get the appreciation they deserve. They don't take up storyline, they have meaning, they're well written, well composed, and well sung. They might not be the most bombastic, memorable songs of the world, but from a storytelling perspective, they tick all my boxes. Pretty much all the specials that are considered the best are usually the ones that leave me wanting more from the side characters. But I guess that is hard to do when you have so many new characters to properly introduce. I don't want to make another complaint about Thomas being the main character in every single special. What annoys me more is the fact that the original characters rarely get anything interesting to do. Admittedly, James makes a brilliant side character in Journey Beyond Sodor. Percy is pretty much the main in Day of the Diesels, despite that comfortably being my least favourite special. And in The Adventure Begins, all four of the engines besides Thomas play at least some part in the story. I guess it works so well in the latter because there was no token newbie, at least not one that can steal the spotlight. K truly lives up to its name of calling all engines. Everyone matters in this story and everyone has a part to play. Admittedly, characters like Toby, Henry, Edward could have done a little bit more other than just help with the work, but at least the ones who did get more to do actually earned that major role. Diesel makes an excellent antagonist along with Ari and Bert. They're not the villains though. That's the important thing. They are just the same as the Steamies and just want to do better, and their jobs are being taken by their opposition. A fight is inevitable. Percy might not do that much in this, but seeing how sad he gets at the fear of not seeing any aeroplanes truly adds to the emotions. As for Emily, she is perhaps at her best in this. For the past two series, Emily has been slowly but surely developed into one of the regulars, and now she gets her reward of a place at Tidmouth Sheds. I completely agree with the Unlucky Tug's statement that this is how you give someone such an important role, instead of just giving them that berth without them actually earning it, like Banana and Engine from Kenya. Having Emily spend the night with Thomas and realising she likes having company feels like a really natural storyline. You feel sorry for her when she's alone again, and after playing her role in the story, she has more than earned her role as the new Engine number 8. Sorry, Duck. You shouldn't have gone on vacation. In the end, K maintains its focus on how important teamwork truly is. Everyone plays an equal part and makes a difference. There are no leaders, no assistants, they are all in it together. Now I bet you're wondering, what about Thomas? What about Diesel 10? Well, they've got their own section in this video, so we'll get to them. Right now, in fact. I want to ask you something right now. If Magic Railroad didn't exist and we never saw the menacing side of Diesel 10 that he's known for, would we still hate his character in K? Look, I was disappointed the first time I saw this too. I was so excited to see the character again because he was one of the best parts of Tapper, and you hope he's still an evil, chaotic Diesel who will do whatever it takes to dominate the Steamies. But hang on, how would that fit into this kind of story? Now that I'm older, I get why they changed Diesel 10. It simply doesn't work in this kind of story to have a villain. The Diesels are the antagonists, not the villains. I can't emphasize that enough. Like I said, all the engines are in this together. They just can't put their differences aside. Having Diesel 10 turn up and cause carnage for carnage's sake would be a careless thing to do. But the writers did care. They wanted their story to send a good message. For Diesel 10, the message is a good old, don't judge a book by its cover bit. And I find that to be a really good addition to a story about ignoring differences. And they also found a way to have Pidgey make sense. A Diesel with a claw would never exist, but is it still possible to work that into a story? In the end, yes. And I love the way they did it. Until Thomas had his idea, Diesel 10 had no purpose in being in the story at all. But they set up a really good ending where Thomas finally has the bravery to speak to the silent, mysterious Diesel, who turns out to be no different to any other engine. He just wants to work hard and be useful. That is some good planning if you ask me. So yeah, it is hard to accept Diesel 10 as a good guy at first after all the effort that was put into him in Tapmer, but if we could just forget about that for 1 hour and watch a very important message played out on screen, we might appreciate this version of Diesel 10 even more. It might just seem like a trick to get more people watching the special, but at least they worked him into the story in perhaps the nicest way possible. It's too bad they couldn't do the same with Lady, but 1 out of 2 isn't bad. Look me in the eye and tell me you don't feel something during the ending of K. A rivalry that began 19 years ago when Sodor got its first Diesel is finally ended when the Stinky Steamies and Dirty Diesels come together to save the railway's reputation. How could people not like the sound of that? In my opinion, this is one of the only times a special goes for an ending that could have changed the whole show. Hero of the Rails might have a nice ending with Hero travelling back to Japan, but Since this is a character we've only known for less than an hour, not much can change about Sodor, can it? The Edges go back to work knowing they have a new friend. That's basically it. What about Journey Beyond Sodor? Thomas and James travel to England, make some new friends and enemies, they manage to bring the two together and just go home after that. If the writers had decided to keep the Steamies and Diesels as friends and not rivals, that would have had a huge impact on the railway and the show. We'd see a whole variety of characters working together for the first time, and there would be no more name calling, no taking jobs, no fights, it would be perfect. But of course, Sodor is supposed to be in the real world, and nothing and no one is perfect. Not everyone gets along, but if K had been the last time we'd see Diesels and Steamies at odds with each other, I'd be so satisfied with this ending. And even if Hits didn't want to leave the rivalry in the past, I'm glad we got that hint that maybe, just maybe, the Sodor engines working together as a team could work. Nuclear take for all of you, although this video has been full of them. Thomas is the best he has ever been in this special, which is why I left him until last. The main reason I dislike him now is how much writers feel he has to appear, and the specials are no different. Journey Beyond should have been about James or Henry. The Great Race should have been about Gordon. But on both of these occasions and more, Thomas wormed his way into the story, whether he belonged there or not. K is completely different to this. Thomas started it, and he finished it. Playing the tricks on Ari, Bert and Diesel pretty much sets up the whole story, and straight away he knows he made a terrible mistake. He doesn't need to go on a whole journey to realise what a dumb decision he made like other specials. He is the one who realises that fighting Diesels is not going to help the railway, and he needs to get them to work together. And with help from Mavis, he finally manages to unite everyone. I just want to point out how different this is to other specials, and I'm probably going to slip into Doctor Who monologue territory. In K, Thomas doesn't help because he knows the Fat Controller will call him really useful, or people will call him a hero. He doesn't do it because he feels left out or unloved. He doesn't do it to look like a leader. He doesn't do it for the extra credit or attention. He does it because it's right. Because it's decent. And above all, it's kind. Okay, I apologise for stealing that. Thomas brings everyone together because he knows it benefits everyone, not just him. We so rarely get to see this in the other specials, where he pretty much makes a decision without thinking about others or the consequences. Because we so rarely see this side to a character I've grown to dislike, I appreciate Calling All Engines that little bit more. A movie that subverts my expectations about Thomas has to be pretty damn good. Okay, I know this video is getting way too long, so I'll just quickly go through all the other things you guys will be asking about. These two deleted scenes are good, the others are not so good, I don't get why Rusty's in it, and the learning sequences are unnecessary, but I'm sure if Hit had the option to make a movie about them, they would have. Just skip them if you don't like them. Or is that too much effort? Anyway, I think I've given enough reasons for why this special deserves a little more appreciation than it currently gets. Let me know what you think of Calling All Ages in the comments, and why everything I've just said is completely wrong. Thanks for watching, and until next time, cheerio!